Hello, everybody. It's Stephen and Walter here for another episode of So Chatty. And you can see we're the boys in blue today, sporting Walter's creations, but you've seen these ones before. These are not new creations, but nevertheless, they're so nice. And you see they wash very well because this shirt that I'm wearing has been washed quite a bit. And yeah, they hold up. So don't be afraid to use quilting cotton if you're going to make a shirt. All right, I digress. Speaking about making things, well, this is So Chatty, and it is episode 182, and it's April the 11th, 2025. So today's show, we are going to do a deep cleaning of Walter's 6700P Janome in a bit. But before we get to that, let's take a look at what I've been working on. Well, first of all, let's ask Walter, what's he been working on? What have you been working on, Walter?
Not much.
Walter's going to an in-person sew day while we're having a pop-up sew day. What are you working on then?
I'll probably cut out a shirt.
Probably you should. For me?
I don't know.
Or for you?
You have to come pick a fabric if you want to make one.
From your wide stash of fabrics. Oh, yes. Okay. But anyways, well, you might want to make one for you. How many shirts have you made for yourself?
Not as many as I've made for you.
I know, but
I don't wear them as much.
No, you wear t-shirts. Ew. T-shirts. I never wear a t-shirt. I despise t-shirts.
Nice and comfortable.
I like a button shirt.
Actually, I haven't really made. I still have a t-shirt that is half made. I haven't finished it.
Great. Seems like a waste of sewing talent to make a t-shirt.
Actually, they're supposed to be easy to make, but I only got halfway through and I stopped, and I don't know why. I think I got sidelined. And I meant to finish it, except I wasn't crazy about the fabric. That's the other thing.
Oh. What kind of fabric is it?
It's jersey. It's got bears on it.
Is it from New Jersey?
No.
Jersey? Is it from Jersey cows? Juvenile Jersey.
Yeah.
That's just from a young cow, Jersey cow. Yeah. Whatever. Well, that's exciting. Moving on. Let's see here. Okay. Here's what I've been working on. On Idiot Quilter next week, I will be talking more extensively about some of the little bumps in the road that we hit, because I backed this with Cuddle, and I'd never used Cuddle before, and I'll never use Cuddle again. And I know there are people out there saying, I use Cuddle all the time and don't have a bit of trouble with it. Well, bully for you, as I always say. Good. But anyways, it's done. I am happy with the way it turned out. And I will talk about the trials and tribulations of Cuddle for me and for my Lucy, as I said, next week on Idiot Quilter. But it's ready to go now. I just have to get it boxed up and contact my brother to find out what my niece's address actually is, because I don't know. Never sent her anything before. And send the bibs along with it too. Maybe I'll sneak in one of my 3D printed dragons too, because I'm sure my niece's husband, he'd probably get a kick out of it. I'm sure he would. But anyways, yep. So I'm very happy about the giraffe. And okay, this is a little bit of a preview for possibly next week's So Chatty. This is a table centerpiece. It is my own design. But what's really unique about this, the way I made it, was, did you know you can do foundation paper piecing in the hoop? Oh, yes, you can. Say it isn't so. No, it's so. And so next week, I'm going to show you how you do that, but I'm going to use Walter as a guinea pig. It's going to be Walter doing foundation paper piecing in the hoop. Now, we have both done regular foundation paper piecing, FPP, before in the usual way. I hate it. I do not enjoy doing foundation paper piecing. However, I discovered this method, and maybe you've already discovered this method if you have an embroidery machine, or maybe you haven't. And I'm going to talk about the ins and outs of that as Walter makes a block. There's actually 4 small units in each one of these major bigger blocks. It's the tulip. It's actually called the tulip block in one of the 4 quadrants, but it doesn't look like that when you put them together this way. But anyways, I'm very happy with the way this turned out. Finished it this morning, and what do you think?
Yeah, it looks nice.
Yeah, and it's old lady fabrics.
Hmm.
But I'm starting to get a real appreciation for these 1930s Civil War like, these aren't actual, but like style, a little bit more so. So maybe down the road I should explore, is it Lori Holtz? I think does a lot of these kind of
I also like
fabrics.
the colors and that.
Yeah,
They're more rich.
yeah. And I made each one of the blocks a different organization. Like each block has 4 units, 2 units the same in each case, but in each of the big blocks, I use different fabrics
Hmm.
with it. Mainly because this was made up with fat from a fat quarter bundle.
Mm.
So I didn't have enough to make it all the same, but that's okay. And you'll notice that I did do some quilting. Actually, I used the embroidery machine to do that motif in the
Mm.
in the center of each one.
Yeah, I was going to ask you about that.
Yeah, well, that's how. But these are all things we're going to explore and talk about in more detail because there are some little tips and tricks I figured out along the way. So that's probably going to be next week's So Chatty. So tune in for that. Okay, let's talk about what's coming up. Sewing with Stephanie and Stephen, Wednesdays as usual. You know the drill. Links in the show notes. Pop-up sew day this Saturday, April the 12th, just in case you are seeing this after the fact. April the 12th, 2025. Those of you on the mailing list already got the Zoom link for that. The Zoom link is also in the show notes today for the show, I hope. Oh, make sure I'll put that in before I post this. And all are welcome, as usual. Many of you have been to the pop-up sew days before, so you know what's involved. If you're new, don't be shy. We don't bite unless you want us to. And everybody has a good time. And you get caught up on a lot of things. And on top of my pop-up sew day, just when you thought it was over, there is, well, it's not part 2, but Russ of Quilt Meets World is having a sewing shenanigans day on Sunday, so April the 13th. So if you miss mine, you can maybe pick up Russ's or vice versa. If you can't get to Russ's, maybe you can get to mine, or you can do both. Yeah, you can double up, double your pleasure, double your fun with all of that. So do tune in to Russ's vlog that he posted yesterday or the other day, Wednesday. And he has the details there about all of that. Okay, so other events. In a couple of weeks' time, we do have the Idiot Quilter Spring 2025 retreat. And I already posted a video about the ins and outs of how to register for it. Everything I say in that video is in the show notes for that video as well, in case you can't remember what I said or you want to like cut and paste that information into your word processor for future reference. And those of you on my mailing list already sent all that same thing out to you as well. So it's all there. Registration opens next Monday, so April the 14th at 9 a.m. Eastern Time. Do not try to register before that date or that time because your registration will not go through. I'm trying to keep it as fair as I possibly can. I know for those of you that might be out on the West Coast, it comes a little early, but I don't think it's all going to fill up on the very first day. However, I do know from past experience that even though I'm going to have registration open for almost 2 weeks, it still fills up. And there's a whole business on that YouTube video about my waiting list in case it fills up and you didn't get a chance to sign up. Doesn't mean you won't necessarily be able to come because there's always people who cancel out. And there's a whole thing about cancellation and about blacklisting. Yes, blacklist. You'll want to watch that video if you haven't seen it already for that explanation. Although I have you register for it, it is a free event. And this one is different than a pop-up sew day because I have some guest speakers, guest presenters. One of them is a very, very brilliant hand quilter, and she's going to do a little trunk show, and she's going to talk about her creations, and they're phenomenal. And she comes from the East Coast and is Canadian, and her name is Heidi Morel. She's some of you that are regulars here probably have met Heidi on one of our sew days. And the other person I have is the owner, operator, president, everything else, and main creator of Art East Quilting Company, also from the East Coast of Canada, another proud Canadian. And I was very thrilled that John agreed to be one of my presenters. And you're probably familiar with his creations because he does these wonderful quilt kits that involve usually fantasy creatures. He's done The Wizard of Oz. He's done Winnie the Pooh in the 100-Acre Woods. He's done a lot of different quilts, and I actually made one of his quilts some time ago, the one with cats scratching, which I thought was hilarious. And that's the thing about a lot of his quilts, they're kind of tongue-in-cheek with humor as well. But anyways, he's going to come and he's going to talk about his creative process and show you what he's got in the works and some other things. And so that's going to be great. We're also going to have a panel discussion where I will involve my two presenters in a discussion about, we're going to talk about the creative process. How is it that they come up with the ideas they do, and how do they bring them to fruition? So we'll talk a little bit about that. Of course, there's going to be tons of time for you to sew as well. And there isn't a set project. You bring whatever you want to work on. But we'll also have prizes. Lots of prizes. And I have some very special prizes this time as well that were donated by a quilt store that very generously sent me a few things for this. So, yep, lots of things there. And just when you thought that was all, there's even more. There'll be a show and share. So it's all in the notes. You can send me a picture of something you're very proud of, or it's one of your favorite creations, and I will put it all together as a show and share slideshow. But all those details are in the video and in the show notes of that video as well. So check that out. Because there's a due date for that too. And what else will we be having? Well, the Friday night before, we always have a cocktail party, a virtual icebreaker cocktail party where we get to know each other a little bit, find out where people are coming from. If you have something you want to show us, you can show it on that. And I usually have some little funny videos to show you, little short ones, and maybe a game or two. It depends, because I'll be honest right now, I haven't planned that part of it yet. So, and I got to do something different from what I've done in past years as well, because, I have repeat customers. So I don't want to bore you to tears with the same old, same old. Nice face. Hope it doesn't stick that way. Yeah, good. Exercise your cheeks. Okay, so what else? Nope, that's about it. So we're going to get to the main event. So we're going to cut to the video that we have made about cleaning Walter's 6700P, Janome 6700P sewing machine. But to give you some background to this sewing machine, this was my first real sewing machine when I got into quilting. So that machine has been here for, what, about 7 years? I think it was 2017 or 2018 that I started quilting. It's a great machine. It is a workhorse. In fact, I was told by Shirley at Ultimate Sewing, where I bought it, she said, this is as close as you can get to an industrial machine without owning an industrial machine. And that sucker sews through anything, doesn't it?
Yeah, pretty much, yeah.
Walter uses
more, yeah, I've gone through like 12, 13 layers of fabric with interfacing and stuff like that. So,
and it is a good machine. So if you're looking for a decent machine, the 6700 is a good buy. And it's not, I don't know, what's it priced at these days?
Well, it's not cheap anymore. It's about $3,500 now.
Well, in comparison to what I paid for an M7.
Well, I think you paid about $2,400 for it, but
when I bought that, at that time,
but prices have gone up. So.
Yeah, but that's still not a bad price for the kind of machine that it is. But here's the thing: Walter's been using it for all of his creations, and it's never been cleaned, like deep cleaned. I mean,
I haven't had it in for service.
It's never been in for service, and
I mean, I keep the bobbin clean, and sometimes I've vacuumed out as much as I could out
Yeah.
the edges, because if I do bags, I use a lot of, I tend to use like fusible fleece and stuff like that, and it sheds. So it could, there could be
Well, because some killer dust bunnies
some
in there.
dust bunnies in the bottom.
We don't know what we're going to experience when we open this machine, but you will be seeing it at the same time as we are, and we'll talk about how to clean this machine. And the one thing about Genomes I have found, I have done a deep cleaning of my M7, and I did put up a video about that some time ago when I did it. And I also deep cleaned my travel machine, which is a Genome Skyline 7. And basically, all of the Genomes, you get into them the same way, and it isn't difficult. It's just a matter of unscrewing a couple of screws on it, and then you get right to it. But there are some other tools you might want to have on hand when you're doing this, and we'll talk about that as well. So what we're going to do is we're going to insert that video for you to see right now, and then we'll come back and kind of do a summation of everything. Okay, see in a blink of an eye.
Yeah. Okay, everybody. Well, here's Walter's machine. It's a 6700P Janome. And as I said earlier, this has not been ever deep cleaned. So the first thing we have to do is get into it. But before we do that, some basic tools you might have on hand. So something you're going to find very, very helpful is a compressor. This is a portable compressor. I think I bought it from Amazon some time ago. I use this a lot on my sewing machines to blow crap out of it. It has 3 settings. 1, 2, 3. And it works very well for this kind of thing. You may want to have a vacuum cleaner handy as well. Now, this is a great little one I bought from Amazon too. It's by Works. It's a system actually, because they have these batteries inside of them that you can recharge and everything, and you can buy multiple batteries for it. And it comes with a couple of accessories tucked in here. It's got a crevice tool, which is very handy when you're doing this. And it also has, your standard brush light tool too. So this is very light, portable. So we may be using that, we'll see, to trap some dust bunnies. Some other things you're going to need, well, of course, you're going to use screwdrivers, and Walter has brought a selection of screwdrivers. I think most of the things on this are all done with the Phillips screwdriver. We call it Phillips here in Canada. I don't think the Americans call it a Phillips. I'm not sure. In
Yeah, I
fact,
don't know
the
what they
Phillips
call it.
screwdriver was an invention of Canadians, I
Oh.
think. But
Well,
I'm not
no,
sure
no,
about
it's
that.
the other one, the square head ones.
Oh, the square-headed one. So yeah, okay. So yeah.
Robertson is the other.
Oh,
one.
the Robinson is the Canadian.
Robertson.
Yeah, that's what I said.
You said Robinson.
Robertson.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anyways, the square ones. This is the star head one.
Yeah.
Okay. I also brought this little one down
Yeah.
for taking out this, but actually this one has a pop-up, doesn't it? So we don't
Yeah.
need to unscrew that. So that's even better. I've forgotten. I haven't used this machine in ages. You may want some long-handled tweezers. Ooh, pick your nose with those. Yeah. And you may also want some Q-tips and some rubbing alcohol. Now, I'm basing all of this on a course that I took online from Sewing Doc Academy, and they're in the show notes below. I highly recommend their videos and their courses. They're not particularly cheap, but they are very well done. In fact, before we got this all set up here today, I went back in to review what they say about removing the covers and everything and cleaning it out. They said there are certain parts, if you need to degrease anything, rubbing alcohol will work. This is 99%, so strong rubbing alcohol. But there is something called Crud Cutter, which I think you can get on American Amazon. We can't get it on Amazon in Canada. They won't ship it because it is a solvent, essentially. So that kind of thing, that's for a really gunned up machine. I do not anticipate that we're going to need that. And the Q-tips are there to get in and clean some of
Yeah,
the
the only
gunk off.
thing I really expect is like dust bunnies
Yeah.
underneath it or something.
We are not going to do a greasing in the machine. You don't really have to grease a modern machine. They have joints in them that are filled with oil already, and they're permanent. Older machines, though, that may have, you found in the back shed at your grandmother's house or something, that's when you probably would have to get into with the decrutter, and you'd have to do some greasing and things like that. But Sewing Academy, if you buy their course, will teach you how to do all of that as well. Some other things you might be of interest to have. I have these magnetic little trays because when you take out your nuts, let me rephrase. Now there's no way to rephrase that. When you take out your nuts, your bolts, you want to put them in something so they don't go rolling off your table, and you want to keep things organized. Like basically, you need to put the same nut back in the same hole, same screw. That's it. You need to
screw
it just
it.
gets a lot. Okay, this is getting worse. Anyways, yeah. So this will help keep you organized. So, and of course, you would do that. Put thread on my cloth. You want a microfiber cleaning cloth, and you might want some shop towels as well, as opposed to your ordinary everyday kitchen paper towels, because they have lint and they fall apart. These are not very much
They're a little stronger,
and they're stronger as well. You don't want to get some of this caught in your gears.
Or if you want, like, you just have a spare rag or
a rag, a clean rag, something. Okay, so Walter's going to be doing this. Now I have this sewing machine sitting on this little pad. It's a doormat, a cheap doormat, the fuzzy kind of thing. This is good for keeping your surface area. We're on my cutting mat right now, and I really don't want any oil or anything on that.
And we know this how.
Never mind.
Didn't you put a little something on there?
I did. Shut up. Go away. Go away. Anyways, yeah, we don't want that. So this just keeps your area nice and neat and tidy, and also, keeps your sewing machine from sliding around, although it has rubber feet. All right, so how are we going to get into this? Well, what we're interested in is not this top part. Walter already put a screwdriver here. We're not taking this off because this is where all the electronics are inside the machine. And I'm going to turn the machine, tip it here. And I am going to switch the camera over. There you go. Okay, so all your electronics, or a lot of them, are up here because this is a computerized machine. You don't want to touch those. If you had an older machine that had never ever been cleaned before, you could take this top part off and take your little air compressor and just blow any dust out of there. You're not going to find killer greasy dust bunnies in that part of it because nothing goes up in there. So this is very handy for that. You don't want to touch the electronics, so you have to be careful about that. So the first thing is we need to take this side part off here, because all of this, your take-up arm and everything are in here. Your thread goes through these channels. Thread is linty, so we want to clean that out. So, Walter, what you have to do right now, very carefully, I will hold it steady. You need to take that screw out. There is a screw. Wait just a second. I want to try to get it in the shot here. Okay. So this will remove this cover piece. And we want a little cup for your screw. There we go. Put that. Now this should lift off. So just give it a little wiggle. And then, yeah, there. So you see, this piece doesn't have any electronics in it. And it comes off very, very easily. But you do want to look inside here and give it a little blow job. And oops, I'm out of the shot here.
Well, mine looks pretty clean in there.
Yeah. There's really nothing inside of here. So this is looking pretty good. And I wouldn't expect there would be much in there. But in this part, take the gun. all down in here, these are all our interworkings of where the thread goes down and up, your needle arm and everything. And just first of all, you inspect it and look at it. And you know, this is looking pretty good, but I would just give it a little blow. Hold the trigger in. Hold the trigger in. Okay. Okay, so this is pretty clean. That won't stand up that way. And you just give it a visual inspection to make sure everything's there. Be careful when you're blowing it, though, that you don't let the end of that touch, like there's a spring here and things like that. You don't want pieces falling off. But it's looking pretty darn good.
Yeah, I'm surprised at how clean that is.
So now we're going to put it back down on its back. Look at that. Where did that piece of fabric come from?
Oh.
That wasn't there before. Oh, what did that fall out of?
Must have fallen out of somewhere. Must have maybe the back of the...
Maybe. I don't know. Fabric follows you everywhere. Now, here at the bottom, this is awkward, but if you can see, bright light. Okay. Sorry about the light. There are the feet under here. And there's a screw in each one of these. So we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And there's a screw.
No, that's not a screw.
No, that's not a screw. No, those are the only screws. So those feet, the screws that go through them, are holding this bottom on as well. So we have to unscrew them. So, Walter.
Oh, that one's loose already.
Oh. Well, vibrations might make it. Okay, so leave the screw inside that. Pull the fuzz out from that. And just toss it to me and I'll put it here. So that's one of the 6. And it's a good idea to, you know, check that there's no fuzz trapped in all of this. Now, on some machines, you might have a separate washer that goes here. These are built in to this, so you don't have to, well, they're actually not. They are sort of separate, but they stick right to it. But
now, do I have to do that one too?
You have to do them all.
Oh, okay.
Yep. You have to do them all. So you want to go through these and pull out any little dust bunnies that are here. Not that this would affect the operation of your machine, but you know, you might as well while you're here clean them out. Oh, that's a tight one. That's what she said. Okay. So not difficult at all. And you do want to make sure that your screwdriver is fitting into the screws.
Yeah, don't try not get an
You don't want to
appropriate
strip it.
size screwdriver so that you don't strip the screws.
Yeah.
But these are in fairly not very tight, so I'm wondering if they had been pulled off once before.
I don't think they have been.
Well, I think you took it in for service.
Well, I might have once, way back in the beginning days when I thought you had to go in like every 6 months to have your machine cleaned. Now, this bottom part should come off. But before you do that, notice here on the side, you do have things hanging out. So you don't want to just yank it straight forward. You want to angle it. Okay.
Ooh.
What Walter just did was, you'll notice it on here, on the edge, there's a couple of like little clips. So that's why you just don't yank it. You pull it and you'll feel it give. But look. Not a lot. Oh, but there's some killers.
Yeah.
Okay, this lighting is bad, I think.
Well, it could be maybe turn down the
Oh yeah, you could reduce the... Okay, that's better. Okay, so you see these, all these little blobs? These are our killer dust bunnies. And they tend to get gummy because they'll absorb some oil. If you can see here, some brown discoloration, that's from oil and still wet. Because when you oil your machine at the wick up here, overflow, and this is why you should never use more than 1 or 2 drops at the most on that wick, because the overflow drops down into this tray. And then you get these little buggers being attracted to it as well. So we got to clean that out. So the first thing is, I'd suggest using your handy dandy little vacuum cleaner, or an ordinary vacuum cleaner, whatever you have. Or you could just take it, hold it over a garbage can and brush it out too, for that matter. Okay, so pull apart my vacuum here. All right, so suck away.
I think that's it, pretty much. I don't know. Hang on. Oops. No. Hang on. Okay, that'll do. Okay.
Because now take your air gun and blow.
What about I suck the bottom of here?
Yeah, okay, do this first. One thing at a time. Put it on higher. Okay. Hold it in. Okay, so we still have residue. This is where our Q-tips and our rubbing alcohol come in handy. Let's move this out of our way. Oops. I should have brought a little cup. Anyways, I'll get you started and I'll grab a little cup to put some of this in. Okay, so I have to get by you. Take that. You may want to use a shop towel or the microcloth. So this is just, as I showed you before, this is just rubbing alcohol. And you see, this will dissolve the oil buildup. And be fairly liberal with it, because you can't hurt anything in this part, because there's no electronics in here, there's no moving parts or pieces. Okay. Now, if you're having difficulty getting in there, what you can do is just stuff that. Why not use the tweezers? But no, Walter's using a screwdriver. I try. Now you may not be able to pick up all the little bits that are
But-
curling up, so you just take the vacuum to that part.
But you know, it doesn't really matter that much if it's
No,
super
it
tiny.
doesn't have to look like it's brand new out of it. You're just
Yeah.
trying to get rid of some of the crud
Yeah.
in there. I would be a little more picky, getting in the nooks and the crannies. Quit rolling your eyes. I see you. It's just so that future dust bunnies, and there will be future dust bunnies, get down in there. There is less for them to stick to. Q-tips are your friend. Don't be picking at that yet. We're coming to that. One step at a time. There is actually method to my madness telling Walter to stick to one step at a time, because you might forget where you were if you start going at this piece and that piece or there. So you want to be methodical about what you're doing.
Since when are you methodical?
I'm very methodical all the time, just not according to you. Yeah. See that? Isn't that nice and clean? That looks so nice in there. Just far cry from what we started with. Oop, that's a little gooey. Another thing you can do too, especially with this bottom, because it's nothing in here, if you got a little spray bottle with some of the rubbing alcohol in it, you can just spritz it. And the thing about using rubbing alcohol is you leave it for a few seconds, it evaporates. So if you don't get it perfectly dry, that's okay, because it will be dry in seconds.
Especially when you use 99% alcohol.
Well, yeah, when you're using the high-tech stuff. You don't have to use 99, but we buy it at Costco by the case, because I use it a lot with my 3D printing and stuff like that too. So, yeah. Now here is a spot.
Yeah, but you don't want to get the grease off there, because that's
No, I know,
moves.
but you inspect that, because that's overrun
Yes.
on it.
Not
And
necessarily.
did you take the course?
I think that's a permanent grease. I don't think that's overrun. I don't think you should wipe it off.
I'm not wiping it off that part. I'm wiping it off
Because if you look underneath, there's a pile of grease underneath it, and
yeah, I know.
it's
You
meant
don't.
for it to be
Yeah,
in there.
I know it's supposed to be there.
Okay,
but
so
if you'd let me finish, I was going to say, if you find that the grease is hardened,
it's not hardened; it's soft.
if
Well, okay, fine.
the word if you may want to take that off, but that's usually on old machines that haven't been used an ancient, and you found it in the back shed someplace under grandma's dead body. I don't know. Okay, so we've got the bottom tray cleaned up. We'll put that to a side. And does this come off?
I don't think so.
Yeah, okay. All right, I want to position this where people can see. But we do have, I'm going to hold it up like this. And it doesn't look too bad, but I would take the little blower. And, oh, there's some fuzzies there, though.
Yeah, like I'd suck it first and then blow.
Well, get on with it.
Where's the sucker?
Standing right here. This is a heavy machine.
Oh, how do you turn this thing on? Where's the button?
Lordy, lordy. You can't get good help.
Oh, there's some.
Whoa! Whoa, fuzzy, fuzzy. Wow, that's a lot. All over my sewing room now. Yeah.
I think that's pretty much at it.
Okay, I don't know if that was picked up on the camera or not, but there was fuzz coming out of this. Little bits of fuzz everywhere. So yeah, it didn't look when we first opened it up like there was much to worry about, and probably we didn't have to worry about that either. But we've got it. We've got it open, so you might as well clean it. Okay, let me try and get this in position here. All right, now there is.
I was gonna say I could take the needle plate off. Where's it?
Oh, yeah, we should have done that. And taken out the bobbin. I forgot all about that part of it. Figures. What are you doing?
Looking for where you push that, where the thing for the needle plate is, and that's the thing there.
Oh, so we should have done this first. Well, we're okay. We can do that when we put the bottom back on.
Yeah, but then you can't blow through it, right? Here, hang on.
Just put the bottom back on. Don't try this at home. We're trained professionals. I don't know what that does. Does that pop it? You know, this isn't.
Hang on. This push.
I have a suggestion. Just put the bottom back on without screwing in the screws. Then we'll tip it up and then we'll see where it's going. Yeah, I forgot to do that first. My bad.
That's easier said than done.
Would you like me to try? No, no.
Okay, go ahead. You seem to know what you're doing.
Yeah, I do. Okay, where's the button on this one? There we go. Okay, so we're taking off the plate and we're taking out the bobbin. And are you going to blow it? Yeah. You hold it in. I kind of want to trip this up so people can see what you're doing. Okay, just in here. Now the other thing you want to do in here, turn it, hold it in.
This is a way stupid thing.
It works fine. I don't have any problem with it. Yeah. Okay, so you want to take a Q-tip, a little rubbing alcohol, and go on the inside of, and you probably can't see that. Okay, so I'm down in here, and I'm just going over that bottom plate. And you see there's crud. It's not a lot of crud, but there's crud. And don't be trying to save your Q-tips. Q-tips are cheap. Buy lots of them. Now, once we put this all together again, Walter will want to add a drop of oil to the wick that's in here. And just go over. Now, this machine has an automatic thread cutter on it, right down in here. And you want to inspect that to make sure there isn't any little bits of thread caught in it. And this looks pretty clear, very clean. Okay. Now, I would give it another little bit of a blow here before we take the bottom back off. So this part we should have done before we took the bottom off. Okay, so let's put it back on its backside. Be careful when you're laying it down too, because you got stuff here on the back. You don't want to just drop it. Okay, so this is where the Q-tips again, and you'll just whip around inside. Let me turn this a little bit. Oops.
You gotta be careful not to get any lubricant off of it, though.
No, but you don't have. You're not going to take any lubricant off doing what we're doing. You're not scrubbing. You're dabbing.
Actually, this I think should be oiled.
Yes, there's a little felt in here that should have a little bit of oil put on it. You know how to use one of these?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay, before you use it, let me get this. He doesn't take instruction. I want people to be able to see what you're doing. Right here, there is a little felt pad. And you want to put just a couple of drops of oil on that. And we're using a little oiler pen for this. They're great little things. And
any oil in here?
Yeah, I said, did you know how to use it? You told me you did. Well, that's just why you're not doing it right. You plunge that down, you'll get a drop of oil. It only gives you one drop of oil at a time. And you may want to rotate. You out of oil, but I think it's got enough.
Yeah, there's.
Okay, I better fill this up then.
I can get my oiler
actually,
bottle.
I've got my oiler bottle right here. Here. You don't want to use too much because it's just going to drip down into your bottom pan, the excess. And you want to look at that little felt ring that's there and see if there's any thread or fuzz attached to it. Because over time, if that doesn't get cleaned off, it'll harden because it'll mix with the oil. And that can cause you some grief. These are looking pretty good though.
Yeah.
Okay. So, how's the inside look to you?
Looks very nice and clean.
Yep. Very clean, I would say.
Yeah.
Okay, so I think that's all we need to do with this. This was easy to clean, so now you got to put it back together, which is you just do it in the reverse order of the way you took it apart. So you need your bottom tray. You can do it right.
There we go.
Okay. Now you can screw your feet in.
Wow.
I don't think the screwdriver works very well.
No, because of that.
Here, I'll let you do it. This one's too small.
And plus your hole isn't lined up.
No, you got to put the rubber thing on first.
Yeah, okay, hang on.
I don't think you're going anywhere with that because you're not lined up. Here.
This one's okay here.
I don't think you're going anywhere.
No,
Why?
it's not lined up.
Okay.
The whole, it's not there.
Okay, why didn't we get it lined up? Should have lined up okay. So take it off again.
Well, that screws in. So
Oh,
it should
that's
be
why I
lined
can't
up.
take it off. Well, if that one's in, then why aren't these going in? Okay, technical difficulty beyond our control. This should have been very easy.
Okay.
There. Yeah, you know why? Because we had it uneven when we had it sitting here. It was resting. So, okay. The other one
Okay.
should go in with no problem.
Oh. Okay,
Yeah, you
where'd the
don't want
screw
to.
go?
Oh, jeez. Frickin' frack show. Mostly frick. So, we're getting the feet in. When you tighten these up, you want to make them just a little bit more than finger tight. You don't want to ratchet them in because you could possibly break something because this is plastic. Well, is it or is it metal?
It's plastic.
It's plastic. Okay, fine.
Well, you had it pulled off. You didn't figure out that was plastic?
Well, I thought it was, but I thought if I said it was plastic, you tell me it was metal. If I said it was metal, you tell me it was plastic. So neither one of us would have won on that
It's
battle.
plastic that looks like. Oh, I missed this.
I take it back. Don't do your own machine. Take it into somebody who knows what they're doing.
That one's okay. Yeah.
Okay, you have a washer sitting here.
Yeah, I know. I'm trying to figure out where it came from. This one.
Why, you should always keep your parts together.
Yeah, I'm sure people will say, "Oh, that's too much work. I'll take it in."
It isn't that much work. As long as as long as the person that you have assisting you knows
It's
how
not
to
an
do it.
idiot.
I was referring more to you than to me.
Okay.
But, okay.
There we go.
So your nuts are tight?
My nuts are tight.
Okay, good to know.
My screws are screwed.
Your screws are screwed. Okay. Back up. Now we're going, all we have to do now is we got to put the bobbin case back in. Now the bobbin case should be cleaned as well. Usually I take it out and just every time when I go to oil it,
I always clean my bobbin
I just
case.
give it a little blow job and it's never mind.
Job
Yeah,
always
whatever.
fixes it.
Yeah, right. Okay, let's not go the way it's family show. Okay, you got a couple of strike marks on here.
Yeah, it could be.
Uh-huh.
It has made its little noisies.
This is a good time to inspect your bobbin case too, to see if there's any strike marks or any rough parts. Like I see something here. There's a little divot in that, because that can affect the quality of your stitches when you have that. I mean, this one's okay. Now, what you can do with just a minor little, where's the camera here? I don't know if you can see this or not, but if you look right here on the edge where my finger is, there's a little, what I'm calling a strike mark, like the needle has hit it at some point in time. Yeah, it may have had a jam. It's just a little thing, but your thread goes around this. And if it catches something like this, it can create bird's nests, can break your thread, or worse. Now you can take a nail file on something as minor as that and just give it a little buff. I don't think, have you noticed that it's
I haven't
doing
noticed
anything? No,
that.
so I'm not going to bother with it. If it ain't broke, don't fix it. But just something to be aware of on here. You can buy replacement these. They usually cost around 40 to 50 bucks, depending on where you go. And it's not a bad idea to invest in a spare one, because you never know. You can have
I have a spare one somewhere.
Yeah, well, I have spare ones all over the place. I bought a lot of them for the 15,000, that machine. But okay, so you put it back in.
There's a little dot on it for you to line it. Where there's a little dot.
Okay, they can't see that. So just before
Okay, so I have a little dot. There's a little dot on here. There's a little red dot. And then there's a red dot inside the machine here. And you align the two together. And you can push on the bobbin case back and forth, and it rocks back and forth.
but it shouldn't rock a lot.
No, it shouldn't rock a lot.
And you should be able to hear sort of a little click when you do that
Yeah.
as well. Okay, so that's in there. We've cleaned all of that. So now we can put the plate back on.
Needle plate back on. This one's just snaps on.
Yeah.
Some have to screw off. So
Yeah, on our 550E embroidery machines, we actually have to screw it off, which I wish they would just, well, actually they don't make it so they pop off. And I think that's because the bobbin really goes nuts in your embroidery machine.
Yeah.
And it could, if you didn't have it screwed down tight, it could flip up the foot plate. Okay, next thing, we're going to put the side piece back on. So there's your side piece, and there's your screw. Now let's turn this around so people can see what we're doing. Okay, and you just have to line it up. Yes.
make sure you have the right side on.
Yeah, make sure. Well, it'll only fit one way on this machine. Other machines it might be different. Okay, so there are little points that come out from this that you need to line up. So you have to do a little wiggling. No. You have to wiggle it around. You got to find we're in an awkward position for one thing to do this, but okay, there you go. Put your screw in. It's a little fiddly, but just be patient. Don't jam it.
Okay, there we go.
Okay, now the last thing we need to do, a couple of things actually. Put this here so you can see it. Now it's to wipe it all down. So you take a clean shop rag and some of your rubbing alcohol. You can use Windex as well. And just take all the little cruddies you might have. I mean, there's not much here that we have to worry about, but you know, might as well.
I have seen some sewing machines that are black from...
Yeah, those are neglected machines. But clean up your dust bunnies that are on the outside of the machine around, and here you carry over on that side.
Okay.
Now the last thing is we should give a little drop of oil to your bobbin. So there's a little wick right here. Don't ever pull that little wick out. You need that. And you give it one drop. Something I like to do is I like to take a soft cloth. Well, you could use that for now because as long as it's not linty. And I just, the little excess oil that's there, I actually take it and I wipe around on the inside in here. That was a trick one of the ladies at the sewing store showed me. It just cleans things up, won't hurt it. You don't want oozing out, but okay, put your plate back on. Now we're going to test it to make sure it's stitching. So Walter, you're going to have to, and you'll have to put in, did you take out the bobbin?
Yeah, I did. It's right there.
Oh, okay. So we're going to thread the machine and plug it in. And I'm going to grab a piece of scrap fabric. And we're just going to make sure, it shouldn't be any problem because we didn't really touch anything in terms of working mechanisms. We were just cleaning out the killers. You do that much?
Yeah, I do it all the time. It's for some reason it's not catching.
Oh, you nervous? On camera? Can't handle that?
Got a little piece of hair there.
Hair.
Or thread for
I was going to say, where'd the hair come from? Not from you.
thread.
Okay, you need to plug it in.
I do.
Right there. That's plugged in down the side. So
Is it plugged in?
yes, it is.
Mm-hmm.
Trust me. Okay, turn it on. Okay, everything's coming on. Here's your little piece of fabric.
My needle's not in the right spot. Oh, I got to do it without.
You got to do your start. Well, it's purring like a kitten.
It's purring and it's not sewing.
Did you thread it properly? Did you put the bobbin in?
Yeah, I did.
Did you thread the bobbin right?
Yeah, hang on. There's no thread in the needle.
Well, that's because you didn't thread it properly.
Okay, hang on. Jeez.
You really are.
I thread this thing all the time. And
Sure you do. Over and under. The rabbit chases the fox.
okay, got it threaded.
All right, let's give this
Let's
another.
try this again.
This time, try it with feeling. Yeah. Here we go.
Yep, there we go. It is.
And
So,
how do the stitches look?
okay, fine.
Okay. So that's all there is to deep cleaning a machine. Now, yes, this is a Janome 6700P. Almost every one of the Janomes or Elna machines, you do the same thing for opening them up. They're fairly consistent. And it's probably very consistent on most of your other models of machines as well. We did not open the top, as I said, because that's where all the electronics are. That is something, unless you're a computer programmer or technician who knows all about that, if there's a problem, and you will know there's a problem with your components because your screen or whatever will be weird or things aren't working on the buttons, that's when you want to take it into your service dealer for that kind of thing. But just to do your everyday deep cleaning, and this is what the technicians do. When you take your machine in for cleaning, what we just did is what they do, okay? And you're paying $110, $120 for that.
Yeah.
So you owe me $120. Yeah. Okay, we're going to come back to the main screen and we'll finish up.
Okay, so we have deep cleaned Walter sewing machine, and it probably won't need a deep cleaning for another 7 years. You don't have to do this on a regular basis.
Actually, I was kind of surprised that it wasn't dirtier inside.
Yeah, I mean, that tells you something too. But if you're somebody, well, his machine gets used a lot. But it all depends on what you're sewing on and what you're sewing with. That's what gives you all the dust. Like certain threads, for example, are very linty. Now, I have heard people complain about Aurifil as being very linty. Personally, I don't find that it is, but then that's all I ever use is Aurifil in my machine.
I would think that if you did like machine quilting and stuff like that on your machine.
Well, batting.
Because the batting
Yeah.
will cause it become lodged in
Yeah.
spots like little. You may not think that the batting is coming out when you're doing it, but there's probably minute threads or fibers that come out of
Yeah.
it.
And actually, you wouldn't think that a little thread can cause you grief. It can. So, you know, we talked about this on a previous episode about, you know, general maintenance of your machine. And if your machine is not sewing, making a stitch properly, first thing to look for was after you have checked to make sure you have the top thread and the bobbin thread threaded correctly, is to open up go into the bobbin case, take the bobbin case out, clean that all out in there. Like that's why one of those little portable blowers like we were using is very handy for that.
I use a cheap dollar store makeup brush.
Yeah.
With it, and I can twirl it around inside and stuff like that.
I do both. I use that, and then after I've used the big makeup brush in there and pulled out any dust that's visible or buddies or piece of thread, then I'll give it a blow job with the other thing. That sounds bad.
Yeah,
Um,
or I've been told to, and I've done this before, is get pipe cleaners and stick them in around the edges. It'll help pull dust bunnies out, stuff like that.
And I would think if you got the pipe cleaners that are real fuzzy, the bigger ones, and down in there, because they'll probably gather more. Now, there are tools you can buy that are all the rage right now. They're little silicone picks. And I use those sometimes too, especially to get into some really tight nicks.
Yeah, what else can
crannies, nooks,
cause
and
you a
crannies.
problem
That's what I'm
is
saying.
if you get like a thread breaker or something like that, and piece of thread might lodge in between your bobbin case and the bobbin, and the bobbin, the race or whatever, and that'll cause you problems. And also sometimes on these machines have automatic thread cutters. Sometimes thread gets lodged in the automatic thread cutter, and it can cause you some problems as well.
And if you have a computerized machine, which that one is, and my M7 is, it does something at the very beginning when you first turn them on. It's a calibration. And what it does is it's checking all the little servo motors that are in there and getting them all aligned and ready to go. If there is something caught in the gears that are attached to that or whatever, your machine may not sew, because it's a fail safe that's built into them. And that's when you would have to open it up and see, okay, did I miss a really killer dust bunny that's probably gunked up with oil and grease or something in there? Because it doesn't take much for that. So that's a possibility. But you can avoid that if you clean your machine. Give it what I would call a light cleaning after every time you've done a major project. Okay. Replacing your needle regularly. People don't do that. Machine needles do wear out, and I'm not just talking about the point, the eye of the needle. There's a lot of thread going through that, and there's heat and friction, and that will cause a burr on the needle, which you cannot see with probably the naked eye.
And then that's where you get shredding and things like that. So,
and if your thread starts to shred, you're going to get little pieces of the thread fiber caught down inside your machine again, and it's going to cause you a problem. These machines need to be looked after. They're not hard to maintain, but you need to do it regularly. But as far as the deep cleaning is concerned, I don't think you're going to have to touch that machine for several years with it, unless for some reason you're starting to sew something that's really fluffy, like small bunnies or something like that in there. But yeah, so you might want to keep a record of when the last time was that you deep clean. What I do is I write it on the inside cover of my sewing machine manual, which is in the chair to my sewing machine, because it's got a little thing underneath the seat, and I throw it in there. So, it's a good idea to keep menus, or take a little piece of sticky tape, like a label, and write when you've cleaned it last. I do that on my embroidery machine. It's on the side. You can't see it. You're sitting, but it's on the side of my machine. It says when the last time was that I did a deep cleaning of it. And with an embroidery machine, I highly recommend you do a deep cleaning at least once a year, because if you do a lot of embroidery, it's got a lot of use to it. But that's all you need to do. And on these modern machines, there is very little greasing you need to do. In fact, probably you'll never have to grease your machine.
I think mine said it is permanently greased.
It's permanently greased. It's built into the whatever.
There's they have it's a sealed, what they call a sealed unit, and inside the grease is in there all the time.
All you'll need is just every now and then a couple of drops of oil on the wick underneath your bobbin. That's pretty much all you need to do with it. But do that. I do mine on my machines. It comes up and it tells me when it's time to do a light cleaning on it. It's based upon the number of hours or whatever that it's been in use. I make a habit of doing it when I have finished a major project. I do the light cleaning, and if you do that, your machine's going to run forever. You're not going to have to do much more to it. So anyways, I hope that you found that informative. I hope, even though there were a couple of moments there where we were sort of struggling, sort of not, I made Walter do most of it, because I've done my 2 machines already, and so he needed to do this.
Yeah, well, now I know how to do it. I'll do it again. No time.
And it's not scary.
No.
It's not scary. So, you're not going to wreck your machine by doing this. But as I said, if you're really interested in this kind of thing, I highly recommend taking one of the courses on Sewing Doc Academy, links in the show notes. And they have a course that's called Removing Your Covers. And essentially it teaches you what we just did there.
Yeah, and actually doing something like that is pretty easy. And then taking it in for service, where it'll cost you money. The other problem is that you'll be without your machine for a few days or weeks,
longer, depending.
Even that. And the other thing is, you may live in a location where it's difficult to either find somebody to service it, or you're miles away from, if you happen to live in the country or something, miles away from someplace where it's inconvenient to take.
Yeah. So, it doesn't hurt it to do it yourself, what we showed you. Now, if you have your timing go off or the computerized components, well, that's beyond the scope of us.
Yeah.
That
sounds like a professional needs.
Although Sewing Doc Academy does have a course, it's quite pricey. It's almost $500 American to teach you how to adjust the timing on your machine to fix that up. But I've seen videos on YouTube about doing it, and I think it doesn't look like it's really, really difficult, but it's very tedious and it's time consuming because you do.
And it's hard to get it right.
Yeah.
It's actually, I personally think it's best left.
Let a professional do it.
That's a professional that's done it all the time.
Yeah. Because you could really wreck your machine.
Yeah.
Majorly if you don't know what you're doing with that. I'm not even going to attempt it. I thought I'd take the course, but the price turned me off for one thing, and then I watched some other videos and I thought, no, it's worth what it would cost me if I have that kind of problem to take it into the professional to do it. Okay, so that's it for this week. Next week, I said I'm going to teach Walter how to do FPP in the hoop on the embroidery machine. That should be a lot of scratching and clawing because he won't do anything I tell him to do.
Yeah, well, that's normal.
Oh, he'll probably look and go, no, I wouldn't do it that way. I want to do it this way. Yeah, he's like that. Bitch. Anyways, okay.
All right.
We'll see you next week.
Yep.
Bye.
Bye.